Good morning, friends. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, May 11th. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and that you are participating in Spirit Week. As you can see, I have my red shirt on. Today is Monday, so you can wear either red or pink. Tuesday is orange or yellow. Wednesday is green. Thursday is blue, and Friday is purple. So remember to send pics of you participating in Spirit Week to your teachers or to Miss Hammond. And her number can be found in the morning motivation videos. All right, friends. So it's a new week, so that means that there's a new folder that you need to access. So we are going, nope, not this one. We're going to our distance learning folder. That one's always the same. First grade, always the same. Read aloud, and then this week is May 11th to May 15th, and May 15th is my birthday. So that'll be something to celebrate on Friday. But today is Monday, so we're going to click on the Monday folder. And this is where our materials will be for what we need today. Today, we're going to be reading a poem, so we're going to be submitting both pages of work. So every question I ask you today needs to be submitted onto Seesaw. All right, so let's take a look here. We have a poem. It's called Victory, and it's by Meg Anderson. Now, I'm going to read through it, and then we'll answer the questions going back through the poem together. So, let's get started. Victory by Meg Anderson. She gritted her teeth and took a breath as she crouched at the line. She paused, the sound of her own heart beating, beating, beating. A quick glance to the right and to the left was all it took. No one would pass her this time. This time would be different. This time she would feel the rush, hear the cheers, be at the finish first. She would finally feel the heavy weight lifted from her heart and draped around her neck instead. Joy would fill places where before only worry lived. This time, victory was hers. All right, so before we answer the questions about what the poem is about, we're going to answer the first question on your sheet. And that is, how many stanza are in this poem? So remember, stanza is each section of the poem. It's like poem's equivalent of a paragraph. So we're going to look for each section of the poem, and you're going to count how many you see. So I'll flip through it, and you guys can count how many stanzas there are. Go ahead. All right, so let's use our tool here to label how many stanzas there are. So we see one section right here. That's going to be one. Then there's a break. Then we see this section right here before the next break, and that is two. Then the next section right here, we've got three. Oh my goodness, I don't know what happened there. Let's erase that because I don't know what number that is. And we have three. Much better. All right, now we've got the next page, and we've got two more sections on this page. So after three comes four, and the last one is five. Sure, five. So my numbers aren't the neatest, but it's very hard to write with your mouse on a computer. So the answer to the first question, how many stanzas are in this poem? The answer is five. We see, let's see right here. We got one section, two sections, three sections, Four sections, five sections. So each of these sections is called a stanza, and there are five stanzas in this poem. The next question asks you, is there a rhyming pattern? So we need to figure out how to determine the rhyming pattern in the poem and if there even is one. Because if there's no rhyming pattern, then we can't figure out the pattern. So we're going to go back up to the first part of the poem and read through it, see if you can find a rhyming pattern. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause you right there because it makes sense to read the poem aloud again to figure out if there is a rhyming pattern. So I'm going to read it. You guys can read along. You guys can say it out loud if you want to, but I'll read it and we'll figure out if there is a rhyming pattern. So, Victory by Meg Anderson. She gritted her teeth and took a breath as she crouched at the line. She paused, the sound of her own heart beating, beating, beating. A quick glance to the right and to the left was all it took. No one would pass her this time. This time would be different. This time she would feel the rush, hear the cheers, be at the finish first. She would finally feel the heavy weight lifted from her heart and draped around her neck instead. Joy would fill places where before only worry lived. This time, victory was hers. All right, so now that's the second time that we've read through the poem. And when we're looking for a rhyming pattern, we have to look at the last word in each line to see if any of them rhyme. So let's look at this first stanza here. The three lines, the last word in each of the lines is teeth, she, and line. Remember, we're looking at the last word. So I'm going to draw a line. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right. Teeth, she, line. Teeth, she. Teeth, she. Now remember, we can tell if a word rhymes if they end in the same sound. This teeth ends in eeth. She ends in e. They don't sound the same. And then we've got line, which ends in ein. And ein does not have the same, or line does not have the same ending as teeth or she. So there is no rhyming pattern in this stanza. Let's look at this one. Paused, heart, and beating. Paused, heart, and beating. I'm not hearing any words that have the same ending. Let's look at one more stanza and see if we can find any words that rhyme. We've got right, took, and time. Right, took, right, took. Mhm. Right, time, right, time. Now they both say the I sound, but they don't have the same ending. This one's ending is ite, and this is I'm. Ite, I'm. Those are not the same. So there's actually no rhyming pattern in this poem. There is no rhyming pattern in this poem. The words at the ends of the lines don't rhyme with the other uh, words at the end of the lines in that same stanza. So none of these words rhyme. There is no rhyming pattern. How do you know? Because none of the last words in the lines rhyme. There is no rhyming pattern, and you know that because none of the words at the end of the lines rhyme. All right. The next question is, what is the poem about? So we know that poems are written to make us feel something, but a lot of times poems have kind of a story that goes along with it. It's written about something that's happening. So I'm going to read through it again and we're going to figure out what the poem is about. You guys might already have an idea about it, but lock it in your brains for right now and we'll go over it after I read the poem again. Victory by Meg Anderson. She gritted her teeth and took a breath as she crouched on the line. She paused, the sound of her own heart beating, beating, beating. So I'm going to pause right there. What I'm picturing right now is a girl gritting her teeth. She's going like this. She's ready. She's ready for something. And she took a breath. So she goes and crouched on the line. Okay. So there's a line for some reason. And she paused. The sound of her own heart beating, beating, beating. So when my heart beats like that, I know that I feel nervous or like anxious or I'm anticipating something. So, or like waiting for something to happen. So I get the sense that she's feeling nervous and anxious right now. A quick glance to the right and to the left was all it took. No one would pass her this time. Okay, so if she doesn't want anyone to pass her, I'm thinking that this is a race of some sort. Like she's getting ready for a race and she wants to win this race and she's really nervous about it. Oh, right. Okay. Um, this time would be different. This time she would feel the rush, hear the cheers, and be at the finish first. Okay, so if this time is going to be different and she's going to be at the finish line first, that tells me that she's never won a race before. So that makes sense that she's nervous because she really wants to win this time. So if I know that if I really want to win something or do something really well and I haven't done it as well as I think that I could have, the next time that I do it, I would definitely feel nervous or anxious about that. She would finally feel the heavy weight lifted from her heart and draped around her neck instead. Okay, so I'm picturing right now, like, you know how when you feel nervous, you kind of feel like your chest is kind of tight. You might feel like a pit in your stomach. So she's imagining that if when she wins, that weight would be lifted, but then put around her neck. Now, what's something that's put around your neck at the end of a race if you win? Like a medal, right? So you would put a medal around your neck, and that would lift the weight from inside and put it on the outside to show that you won. Um, Joy would fill places where before only worry lived. So we have another feeling word there. She's feeling worried. Worried, nervous, anxious. These are all kind of mean this similar things. But she wouldn't be worried anymore if she won. She would be happy. She would feel joyful. Um, this time, victory was hers. So she's imagining herself winning and being super happy about it. So when you're answering the question, what is this poem about? This poem is about a girl about to run a race. This poem is about a girl about to run a race. All right, the next question you guys are actually going to answer all by yourselves. So I'll set you up for it, and then you guys are going to answer it by yourself. You're going to take pictures of both of the pages and upload them to Seesaw. So the last question is, did she win a race? And how do you know? So I'll show you where you're going to look for this answer, and then you guys can go and answer the question all by yourself. So at the beginning of the poem, we this is when she's preparing for the race. She's describing how nervous she feels. She's gritting her teeth. She's taking a breath. She's crouched down at the line. She's ready. Then she pauses, and she hears the sound of her own heart, boom, 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 beating, beating, beating. Um, then she's looking to her right and to her left. She's gonna make sure that nobody passes her. So she's still preparing for the race. Um, she hasn't run the race yet, which makes sense because if the race had already been run, this would be a very different poem. So then the next stanza, stanza number 4, this time would be different. This time she would feel the rush, hear the cheers, be at the finish first. So this is where you're talking. She's starting to talk about what will happen when she finishes the race. She's saying that she's going to finish first. She's going to feel the medal come down on her neck. The weight that's in her heart is going to be lifted, and she's going to feel happy and joyful, and she's not going to be worried anymore because she's going to win the race. So when you're looking to answer this question, you're going to look in stanzas 4 and 5. And remember, you can find the poem in the distance learning folder if you need to look back at it. All right, my friends, I look forward to reading your responses, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember, if you have Spirit Week picks, send them to your teacher. All right, bye, friends.